Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. We are into 2019 and we are live. We are live, another Google Hangout, dealing with the topic of Deobandis. I hope that you're all well, inshallah ta'ala. I hope you're all in the best of health and iman. And we have to apologize. I'm sure you were all tucking into your turkey last week, wondering where we all were. I will explain where we were. First of all, before I do, let's introduce my co-hosts this evening, the usual suspects. We have 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. And this young man here, Sayyid Ali. Assalamu alaikum.
I had my cam off because you said young man.
It's all right. I'm trying to convince myself I am too. But good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, so apologies. I got so excited. I started to sort of go into the topic area, then forgot to do the introductions. That's really bad. But yeah, I was saying that I'm sure people were tucking into their turkey after listening to the Queen's speech, thinking, where are these guys? Everything is all set for us.
Did you actually watch
Say again?
You actually watched the speech?
Of course. I mean, it's a normal part of life for me. But it's interesting because I'm sure most of our viewers were probably wondering, where's the Ghadeer brothers gone? Why aren't they on? Because, that should have, it's almost become a part of it's almost like a norm on a Sunday. Where are they? Even though obviously it wasn't Christmas Sunday per se, but, we'd become kind of a bit almost, we've become part of the furniture for Sundays for people. Sunday night TV. Well, in all honesty, you know what? There are a couple of factors that came about. Most importantly, and we got to be honest. It was a Sunday. It was a unique Sunday in many ways. Something almost out of the extraordinary. We had an interesting development in which two empires essentially collided. And it was almost like a feeling that, who was going to win, who wasn't going to win. And obviously, which is why we thought, well, obviously, because it's the premiership of, Star Wars Episode 9, we can't really continue, we can't really compete when you've got Star Wars on at that time. So we left it at that. Hence why we didn't bother coming on. Sayyid Ali, I'm sure that's why you gave the excuse not to come on Sunday. Was that the reason?
That's why it was the release of the new Star Wars movie.
Exactly, that's it. I mean, I had my popcorn out as well. Thinking, there's a big rumor that there was going to be a big scuffle, and that was it. It was Star Wars Episode 9. I think it was whatever it is, episodes. I forgot which one it is now. But in any case, we move on. We're not here to plug George Lucas in any way. In case there's any suggestion that George Lucas is funding Ghadeer, there might be some allegation that Hollywood is some way supporting us with doing fitna. Certainly not the case. Now let's move on to today's topic. Before we do, obviously this is part 9, episode 9, which will deal with the fitna of Takfir. I will address that in my opening, but as is the norm in all of our shows, we always deal with the topic of dishonesty. So obviously when we talk about dishonesty, we are dealing with the dynamic duo and their escapades in the park. Obviously coming from up north, which isn't very nearby, they drove down to Hyde Park on one day, and they did a massive kind of a number of videos exposing the Shia beliefs, and it was really exciting stuff. So obviously they've been sort of releasing these like drip feed, so it almost looks like a bombardment every week, trying to almost embarrass and shame the Shia.
And it just so happens that they have these books ready for the questions that
exactly. I told you, it's just like a wrestling event when you kind of when both parties are actually, but they've got planned, we know what's going to happen at the end, but everybody's still clapping, all the audience are saying, wow, this is brilliant. Obviously the same sort of approach is being adopted. So it was all done on one day. It was a massive shoot of different scenes, and plugged questions. Please, sir, I didn't know this, but they can do what they want. But in truth, the consistent theme in all of that has been dishonesty. And alhamdulillah, I think we have managed to expose about 8 examples of dishonesty. We are yet to see the dynamic duo appear and try to explain why they've lied in those narrations. Let's see what happens. Obviously, you know something, there is obviously a development. Obviously, we also have one. I would say our #1 fan. He's quite a comedian. He thinks it's really funny to sort of snigger and produce Shia narrations, and the cameraman's laughing, and it's all funny comedy hour. We dealt with this comedy last week. He did provide sorry, 2 weeks ago, he did provide an alleged rebuttal, which was even more amusing. Don't worry, brother, we will deal with that rebuttal in due course. But what we thought is, because we didn't want to destroy our flow, we've been doing our preparation. This week will be the dynamic duo's turn, and inshallah ta'ala, we haven't forgotten you, as you haven't forgotten us. We will deal with your rebuttal, and obviously the other wonderful materials that you're producing. That's also come to our notice, and inshallah ta'ala, you will also see how we address those. Without any further ado, let's deal with this week's dishonesty, and it is to deal with the topic it's actually kind of linked. I think it was 2 weeks ago we addressed the narration in which these individuals were talking about a narration from one of the works of Allama Majlisi, in which Imam Mahdi ﷺ would appear naked. Obviously, that was just an example of their dishonesty, and we addressed that. But linked to that theme, they're desperate to try and present the Shia Imam Mahdi ﷺ as Allah forgive me, but the presentation is trying to show him as evil incarnate, an individual that is unacceptable, unpalatable that Muslims would have this concept of the Imam that will bring the kingdom of God on earth, and he will behave in such an atrocious manner, and a manner so atrocious that the Imam is an individual who will destroy the Kaaba. Yes, brothers and sisters, you've heard it right. He'll be an individual who will destroy the Kaaba. That was the narration that was presented. So, Sayyid Ali, my dear brother, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a background in terms of what narration we'll be dealing with today. So what I'm going to do for you guys, as usual, I'm going to be playing you a video clip. Just bear with me a minute. Okay. So you should be able to see my screen any minute. There you go. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Sayyid.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Just let me know if the audio is not loud enough or anything. This brother, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, Sayyid. Yeah.
As you can see, it's all premeditated, right? So you have this sheikh who has a member of the public, or obviously related to his group, who he gives him the question. So what he does is conveniently, he has the, well, what he will do, he'll have the answers, the so-called answers in front of him. So he's carrying this book. He's going to take an audio. Look, he knows, he already knows where the person's standing, right? So he's already given him the question, as we've shown you in previous shows. But look which way he works. He first looks towards his right, and then he looks towards his left. Look, have a look.
So this brother was asking a question. One brother was asking a question now. Yeah.
So one of the brothers asking a question. He knows which brother it is. This is all just a big act. To be honest with you, he deserves an Oscar for his acting skills. Definitely have to say 10 out of 10.
What was the question, brother? This brother had a question.
He's already got the page number ready. See, he's got this knowledge. You know, we discussed the issue of knowledge and how they claim about the Holy Prophet, the peace and blessings be upon him, his family, how they compare the knowledge of the Prophet. But this guy, he's got ilm al-ghaib. He's already got the page number ready. He's got the reference ready, everything.
The Kaaba, yeah? All the Muslims, they hold the Kaaba in high esteem. Yeah. What's the Shia view on the Kaaba? Well, I'm here,
it's like almost like Blue Peter. Here's one I prepared earlier. So he's got the book ready, got the reference ready. Now he's going to read the tradition.
Volume 52. This is full of the sayings of the Ma'sumin, who they call infallible, sinless Imam, higher than prophets. Here, there's a statement of the Imam, Abu Abdullah, infallible Imam Jafar Sadiq. He says, إِذَا قَامَ الْقَائِمُ, that when the 12th Imam, who they refer to as the infallible Mahdi, when he comes, هَدَبَ الْمَسْجِدَ الْحَرَامَ, he is going to demolish the Holy Kaaba. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? Demolish. Hadam. The word hadam means to demolish. To bring a building down means to demolish. Hatta yaruddahu ila asasihi. Not only that, he's going to return it to its original foundations. What does that mean? That means that the Holy Kaaba that you and I offer salah towards is the wrong one. 1400 years ago, Muslims have been offering salah, and Shias as well, probably out of the Qiyah, are offering salah there. And when they can see it in front of their face, they're offering with us. But according to them, this is not the Holy Kaaba. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a few places in the Holy Quran, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ, which bayt is this? جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الْكَعْبَةَ الْبَيْتَ الْحَرَامَ قِيَامًا لِلنَّاسِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the Holy Kaaba, the cube, sacred house, a place for people establishing their worship. But if the Kaaba is not known, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking about? So this is the view of the Shia regarding the Holy Kaaba, that the 12th Mahdi, the 12th Imam, is going to come and he's going to destroy the Holy Kaaba. And this is the Harun Anwar, volume 52, page 338. 338.
Okay, so as you can see, that was the clip. Sayyid Hassan, did you want to say anything before we deal with the narration? Sayyid Hassan, you're on mute at the moment.
Sorry. I think I'm going to make a comment after you deal with the narration. Let's deal with the narration.
Okay, that's fine. So once again, I'm going to screen share for you guys. Give me a second. So can you see my screen? It should be visible to you guys.
Yes, Sayyid, go ahead.
So as you can see, this Sheikh has brought the objection that the Shia Mahdi alayhi salam, may Allah hasten his appearance, will come back and he will destroy the Kaaba and he will put it back to its original spot at least. This tradition itself is mentioned in Bahar al-Nawad, which he rightly read. However, we're seeing this constant approach by these individuals. And what I mean by this is that they just pick up any Shia book and they'll just quote from it. There's no sincerity from their side. Just as, a person belonging from another school, even out of Islam, for example, people who are not even Muslim, if I was to approach their literature, their religious literature, it would be very unfair for me just to pick up any book and then claim that, okay, well, this must be something authentic. It's something which is, credal to them, or something which is necessity for them to believe it. And otherwise, they cannot belong to that sect. So this tradition itself, this individual, he didn't read the authenticity of this report, who the narrator is, the scholars who authenticated it, nothing. All he did was pick it up. He had somebody ready to ask that question. He had the reference ready, and he was just, his sole objective was just to make Shias look bad, okay? Just to create a negative image of the Shias and incite hatred against them. So the objection is, well, there's two aspects to this particular objection. Number one, that the Shia Mahdi will destroy the Kaaba. And number two, the Shia Mahdi will have the Kaaba put back to its original spot. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to present some hadith from Sunni books, which not just is, these books are respected by Deobandis themselves, who are included obviously within Sunnism itself. But these books are generally shared by all Muslim sects within Sunnism who regard themselves as Sunnis. So this hadith, firstly, is from Bukhari, and this is narrated on the authority of Aisha. And Aisha said, Allah's Messenger, may peace and blessings be upon him, said to me, were your people not close to pre-Islamic period of ignorance, I would have demolished the Kaaba and I would have rebuilt it on the original foundations laid by Abraham. And I would have built a back door too. I'll read that one more time for you guys. That's in Sahih Bukhari, volume 2. Tradition number 1585. As you can see, narrated Aisha, Allah's messenger said to me, let me just give you the page number, just in case you didn't see the page number. Page number 378. Let me read the tradition again. Narrated Aisha, were your people not close to the period of ignorance? And obviously, the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, is referring to who? Who were those people who the Prophet was talking about at that moment in time? They were the Sahaba. Okay? Were your people not close to the period of ignorance, meaning the people of Jahiliyyah? If your people were not close to the period of ignorance, I would have demolished the Kaaba and I would have rebuilt it on its original foundations laid by Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So what did you hear? You heard previously this Sheikh said that the Shia Mahdi will come back and he will destroy the Kaaba and he would put it back on its original foundations according to the Shia books. But here you have a hadith of the Prophet which says quite explicitly that had the people not been close to the people of the time of ignorance, he would have demolished the Kaaba and he would have put it back on the original foundations that was built by Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So according to us, the Mahdi would, if we were to assume this tradition is authentic, because we're not even going to go into the issue whether it's authentic or not, but if we were to assume this tradition is authentic, hypothetically speaking, the Shia Mahdi alayhi salam, the Shia Mahdi, may Allah hasten his appearance, is fulfilling the wish of the Holy Prophet. Because he's going to only be putting it back to the original foundations, the foundations that were built by Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Sayyid Hassan, did you want to add anything further to this?
You know something? I just wanted to add a point. I mean, what I find interesting, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but if we just look at the tradition itself, what exactly is the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family fearing? Is he adopting some form of taqiyya? Can someone explain this to me? Because surely his duty is to fulfill what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires him to do, correct? Now, he himself has a desire to redesign, restructure the Kaaba pursuant to the time of Prophet Ibrahim, but he has a fear and he abandons this. What's his fear? I mean, surely the Sahaba, who are the best of generations, they would have supported him in this, but yet he is actually saying that they're still aligned to a pre-era, aren't they? That Jahiliyyah period. Have I read this correctly, Sayyid Ali? Yes or no?
You read it spot on. That's exactly what the tradition says.
So you try to explain to me, I mean, why would Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam be fearful that if he was to implement a practice, the design, the structure of the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it's pursuant to that from the time of Ibrahim, why would he be fearful that the people, the very people, the best of generations that have converted on his hands, what was his fear that they would object? Why is he so concerned? Can someone explain this to me? I'm very, very confused, because we're always told that these are the generations, the best of generations, the most subservient of generations. Whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, they would jump to it immediately. And yet here, he is essentially of his own volition, and he's assessed the circumstances around him, chosen to essentially abandon something he wanted to do because he was fearful that the companions would object to it.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Sayyid Zadi, would you agree with my summary of that point?
Yes, Sayyid, definitely. Of course, you're right. And the thing that this hadith has a lot of benefits. One of the benefit is that if certain act is not related to the time of Prophet, like a lot of people have this objection of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wassalam, not banning some things or not going for some of the things that he felt that the previous Khulafa and the Caliphs did wrong. So why didn't he turn down the things that were supposed to be changed, right? This is an objection that's usually brought in. So one of the answer is the one that we can quote from Bukhari, that what Rasulullah said, sometimes we need to consider what is the condition of the people, and depending on the condition of the people, the legislative actions should be taken, right? So that's one of the benefits that we can learn from this hadith too.
Absolutely. In fact, Sayyids, remember, any leader in any circumstance assesses the situation that he faces. He looks at his subjects, he looks at the scenario around him, and then he makes a decision. Correct? And this is exactly what we see in this scenario. If this narration is to be accepted, and obviously for the dynamic duo, and indeed all individuals that fall within the definition of Sahih al-Bukhari, of al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah, this is a narration in which the Prophet is essentially assessing the situation, looking at the possible ramifications and the consequences of taking an action, and then abandoning it, which is essentially what one of our arguments is when we say that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam, for example, chose not to do certain things. It was because, or for example, one of the objections, why didn't you take Fadak back, for example? Look at this example. Any leader worth his salt assesses the situation, looks at the possible ramifications, and then makes the decision that's best in that scenario.
Hajj, isn't Hajj included amongst the fundamental pillars of the religion? It is.
Yeah.
These are the same people who say, oh, well, you consider imama to be from the fundamental deen, from the fundamental of the religion. Why didn't Imam alayhi salam fight to establish his imama? Well, why didn't the Prophet fight to establish the very source and the foundations of performing Hajj, which is the Kaaba? Instead, your traditions say that he adopted pretty much taqiyya, and he feared that the people of the time, had they been not close to the people of Jahiliyyah, then he would have demolished the Kaaba and he would have rebuilt it on the foundations of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. But we know from history that the Kaaba was destroyed on numerous occasions, and this is a fact. What's been proven in history is that Kaaba was destroyed. I think even during the time of in the incident of Harra, when the Deobandi Khalifa, the Amir al-Mu'mineen Yazid, may Allah curse him, this wretched individual attacked the Kaaba. And your own ulama have said themselves that for Yazid attacking Constantinople, that Allah would forgive his past and future sins. Remember this tradition we were discussing, the past.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, this is the point. I mean, on the one hand, you are attacking the Shia Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, the description of Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam in this narration, and saying, oh my God, look at this. He's going to attack the Kaaba. He's going to destroy the Kaaba. Your sixth Khalifa, according, to the books, some of the books is, esteemed books in your sect, they record in their books that Yazid did attack the Kaaba, okay, and it was damaged, and yet despite this, you don't have an issue with it. So, some of your scholars have defended Yazid because there's narrations about whoever conquers Constantinople attains paradise, and on this basis, the argument is it doesn't matter what Yazid did, he's still going to heaven. So to be honest, in all honesty, you can't really sort of wag the moralistic finger and tut at us when your beloved sixth caliph behaves in such a manner. Okay, Sayyid Ali, my apologies. Do continue.
Actually, you know what? I think we should talk about how they have exaggerated themselves when it comes to how they view the Kaaba, and to what extent they've exaggerated in the books about this whole thing about the Kaaba, right? Just give me a second so I can bring up the document for you guys to have a look. So, Allama Haskafi al-Hanafi, in his Sharh al-Aqeedah Taftazani, confirmed what Nasifi said. Moreover, he was asked about what is being narrated, that the Kaaba circumambulates one of the saints, meaning that the Kaaba performs tawaf of one of the saints, it is allowed to rely upon it, meaning that these accounts which talk about the Kaaba performing tawaf around saints, is it something which is considered to be authentic? He answered that as per al-Sunnah, it is permissible for people of walaya, meaning the saints, to forego these kinds of karama, these type of divine phenomenon, or these type of miracles. And that is not that's not exclusive by natural or scientific law. So yeah, according to 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗖𝗥𝗓𝗕𝗘 al-Hanafi, the phenomena of the Kaaba going to perform tawaf around the saints is something which does not defy the laws of nature, or it's a natural occurrence. It's not something which is abnormal. And this is from 𝗙𝗢𝗪𝗏, page number 253, which is the famous Hanafi book, when obviously with the Deobandis, they belong to the Hanafi movement. And there's the page.
Sayyid, one point to mention here is that he's not quoting from a regular book, right? He's quoting from the Kitab of Aqidah, the book, right? So if it would be a random book, then we can still have this thing that it's not among their Aqidah. But quoting from Aqidah and authenticating this thing is a big thing. You see, like the way they have said is أن الكعبة كانت تزور واحدا من الأولياء هل يجوز القول به؟ فقال خرق العادة على سبيل الكرامة لأهل الولاية جائز عند أهل السنة والجماعة عند أهل السنة. So, فلان زار الكعبة. Someone went for the ziyarat of Kaaba, but here it says الكعبة كانت تزور واحدة. If Kaaba will come for the ziyarah of anyone.
Yeah.
So see, like, and inshallah we'll be quoting more fatwas that it shows that it's not only a mere spiritual movement of Kaaba, right? It's movement of Kaaba.
Sorry, Sayyid Zaidi, can I get you to read it from the official Deobandi website? Because I believe the next one's actually, we have the Urdu there in front of us as well. Can you read the question from, this is from the...
Yes, let me read it for you. Let me read it for our viewers too. So this question is Sawal 7126, 7126 is the question number. It says Maulana Zakaria फज़ाइल हज में फरमाया काबा नेक लोगों की ज़ियारत को जाता है, क्या ये वाकई जाता है? मैंने फतावा शामी जिल्द नंबर 1 सफ़ा नंबर 290 और रद्दुल मुख्तार जिल्द नंबर 2 सफ़ा नंबर 867 में पढ़ा कि काबा अपनी जगह से दूर जाए, ये बात मुमकिन है। और अगर कोई शख्स काबे को इसकी जगह पर ना पाए, let me read it again for you guys. और अगर कोई शख्स काबे को उसकी जगह पर ना पाए तो हनफी फ़िक़्ह के मुताबिक या हनफी फ़िक़्ह के मुताबिक नमाज के लिए अपना चेहरा उस जगह की तरफ करे। दूसरी तरफ अहमद रज़ा ख़ान ने अब्दुल क़ादिर जिलानी इला आखिर, मतलब that has nothing to do with our question and answer that we want to focus on. So the answer from Darul Ulum Deoband, which was published on September 7, 2008, and the fatwa number is 1582 or 1351. बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। नेक लोगों की ज़ियारत के लिए काबे का जाना और अपनी जगह से हटना मुमकिन है। अगर काबे को कोई अपनी जगह पर ना पाए तो उस जगह की तरफ रुख करके नमाज पढ़ना जायज़ है। And then he mentions what about Ahmad Raza Khan, and he says Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, Darul Ifta, Darul Ulum Deoband. Yes, Sayyid, please.
Yeah, did you notice this individual said, well, oh, for all these centuries, that means that Muslims have not been praying in the right direction. So if you believe that the Kaaba can go and perform tawaf around the saints, which way do the Muslims pray towards? Essentially, they're not praying towards the Kaaba because the Kaaba is not there and it's performing tawaf around your saints. Which way? Why do you pray towards the Kaaba? You should be praying towards your saints. You should be worshipping your saints, since they've got a more lofty position than the Kaaba, because the Kaaba clearly does tawaf around them. And by the way, historically speaking, if I remember this correctly, I think after the Kaaba was attacked during the rule of Yazid, and Ibn Kathir mentions it in his book 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗖𝗥𝗓𝗕𝗦, he mentions that I believe I might be mistaken on this, but I believe it was Abdullah ibn Zubair he was involved in rebuilding the Kaaba. So that means and according to the tradition of Bukhari, he apparently put it back to the original spot. I mean, this is what the tradition says in Bukhari, that he put it back on the original spot where it was built. He saw the marks where Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam had built the original Kaaba. Where were the Muslims praying before that then? Were they praying towards the wrong direction? Up till the time of Yazid, that means that during the time of Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and essentially Imam Ali alayhi salam, all those generation of people were not even praying towards the right direction, towards the Kaaba. Anyway, let's go to the next tradition. Say, do you want to read the Urdu?
Yeah. So the Urdu, this quotation is from Maulana Muhammad Zakaria Kandhelwi. He mentioned in his book Fadail al-Durud al-Sharif, page number 155.
Can you just give us a background in terms of who he was, the status of this individual?
Yeah, Maulana Zakaria Kandhelwi is a huge figure. Like he's also called Zakaria few among the scholarly circles sometimes. He's one of those people that have written the text for the Tablighi Jamaat. So even if you go to any Deobandi masjid, I won't say any Deobandi masjid, but people generally, I would say, that have association with Tablighi Jamaat, they have a whole curriculum which is called Tablighi Nisab. Within that Tablighi Nisab, they have Fadail Durud, Fadail Hajj, and Fadail Namaz, and they have different sections. They have different booklets that they have assembled in one single volume, which is called Tablighi Nisab. One of it is Fadail Durud al-Sharif. Now, just for our viewers, anyone who is a Deobandi and who knows Tablighi Jamaat would know that this book is like a Bible to them. You have used word Bible, but it's just like as an idiom, not Quran, obviously. Have to be really honest here. Obviously, they have Quran, they read Quran, but for them, Tablighi Nisab is something that's even more important than Bukhari, more important than Muslim, more important than a lot of other books. So, Bahishti Zevar and Tablighi Nisab, these are the two books. Likewise, we have in Indo-Pak circles, sometimes we have Tuhfatul Awam, something like this, or Mafatihul Janan, books like these, right? So for them, these are the books that they would have for their fiqh purposes or for their ikhlaqi purposes, like the books that they would use to motivate themselves to do stuff.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so it's a huge book. It's not like a really random book that we are quoting here. Under Fadail al-Durud al-Sharif, now we are not quoting from Tablighi Nisab, we're just quoting from one of the booklet that it has, Fadail al-Durud, has page number 155. It says, Aapke roze athar. He's talking about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aapke roze athar aur गुम्बत खुजरा के इस हाल में मस्ताना और बेताबाना चक्कर लगाते. So he's quoting someone, how he used to go for the ziyarah of Rasulullah. So
can you read English? The English.
Sayyid, can you read the English translate?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the English says, I wish to circumambulate or make tawaf of your pure grave and the green dome in the state of drunken ecstasy. Obviously, this is a line of poetry. When we talk about drunken ecstasy or wine and these type of words, these are general words of poetry. But as you can see, according to this passage, this individual wants to perform tawaf around the grave of the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him. And isn't it ironic that today we have some people belonging to this group who find it really problematic for people to go and perform tawaf around certain graves and stuff, which, by the way, I'm not making this a big debate about whether you should or whether you shouldn't. That's a whole separate issue. But here you can see how that for these people, performing tawaf around the grave of the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, is something of such lofty status that this individual is saying that, look, that I wish to perform this tawaf in the state of drunken ecstasy. And this is from Fadail al-Durud, page 155, as Sayyid Zaidi mentioned. Let's just go into the next passage. We don't want to spend too much time here on this particular response. Mahmud al-Hassan, he said, we wonder in the Kaaba. We wonder in Kaaba asking which way is Gango? Gango is obviously a place where, Rashid Ahmad Gangohi came from. So while they were performing, while they were wandering in the Kaaba, they were asking people, which way is Gango? As we had the heart that had immense interest of Irfan, or you could say Sufi knowledge.
Sayyid, can I read the Urdu text? I think Urdu has more meaning into it, and English cannot do it justice to it. So let me give you a background, like 2 minutes background for this booklet. So this book is a Marsiya. Marsiya is a book that we usually what would be the right English translation for Marsiya, Sadat?
It's a form
it means eulogy.
Eulogy, yeah. Eulogy is like usually when someone dies and someone writes eulogy for them. Ironically, they don't allow eulogy for Imam Hussein, but they do allow eulogy for their own scholars, right? So yeah, Mahmud al-Hasan has written a whole eulogy for one of their scholars, Rashid Ahmad Gangohi. So that's a whole booklet, right? And it's published from Deoband, obviously. And it mentions a lot of passages praising Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, right? One of the things that he said was, "फिरे थे काबा में भी पूछते गनगोह का रास्ता, फिरे थे काबा में भी पूछते गनगोह का रास्ता, जो रखते अपने सीनों में थे ज़ौक़े शौक़े इरफानी." Right? Within Kaaba, फिरे थे Kaaba में, when they were in the Kaaba, when they were in the vicinity of Kaaba Sharif, right? पूछते थे गनगोह का रास्ता. Even then, they used to ask about where is Gangoh. Gangoh is where Rashid Ahmad Gangohi stems from, right? Tell you, like, when you are in Kaaba, when you are in that pure vicinity and atmosphere where people are looking towards Kaaba, when people are remembering Allah, when people are remembering their sins, right? And asking Allah for their forgiveness, right? The dude would preferably go and ask, where is Gangoh? So isn't it ironic, right? You tell us that we don't respect Kaaba, right? Even though we have given the answer what exactly was meant by the narration, right? But what about you guys asking for Gangoh? Oh, where is Gangoh? Probably nowadays will be Raiwand, right? Where is Raiwand, right? When you are in Kaaba.
Yeah, don't ask where the house of the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him. Don't ask where the Ahlul Bayt, where their house was, where Sayyidah Fatima Sallallahu Alaiha, where Imam Alayhi Islam, where they lived. Don't ask where the battles occurred, whether it was Battle of Badr or Battle of Uhud. Don't ask where these places are, but ask where Gangoh is. Subhanallah. Look at this exaggeration that they have for their elders, that when they go to even perform Hajj, or when they perform doing Tawaf. And by the way, it makes you wonder whether the Tawaf was whether the Kaaba was even there at the time. Perhaps it was visiting Gangoh.
It is exactly. This is true ghulat. That's what it is.
Yeah, this is the belief of the exaggerators, I suppose, right? Okay, so let's should we start today's topic then? I think that's enough.
Let's do that. I mean, I think we normally spend about 30 minutes dealing with their rebuttals. We've done that. So
if there is an objection to this, then that's fine. We can dedicate a whole show.
Oh, absolutely. That's not a problem. We can do that. There's no problem. So that really takes us on to today's topic, the fitna of Takfir. What do we mean by the fitna of Takfir? Well, as we know, the dynamic duo have been very, very busy boys, as well as attending Hyde Park and doing fixed question and answer sessions and acting in the way that they did. They were rolling out a number of videos, really basically churning out the same sort of propaganda material as their esteemed clergy such as 𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗡𝗦 and Haqq Jangvi had been producing to try to prove that the Shia are infidels. Now, obviously, when you try to adopt this type of approach, essentially to try to place a black mark over your opposition, the best way to do it is to try and get some sort of a broad consensus and support against a group. For example, it's kind of what we talk about, you know, like a unified body. You know, everybody together taking one view. It's a bit like, well, it'll never happen, but all the parties getting together and having a conclusion of how to deal with Brexit in this country. It won't happen, but boy, is it good if it does. Everybody, all the country united behind a kind of a common objective. Now, what happens is the way that these Deobandis have done it here, the dynamic duo, what they felt is, well, I tell you what, let's not present the Shias as infidels. Don't believe us. It's not just us, you know. It's other people. Other people believe it too. Other Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and we're all in together. There's a consensus. The broad opinion is the Shia, they're apostates. Don't take our word for it. Other guys, they believe the same. Other sects believe the same. We're all Muslims, and it's us against them. It's almost like, you know, when you get someone in a playground, you know, someone will go around and you want to try and pick on somebody, and to make it fun, you'll try and get other people together, and they all pick on that same individual and say, oh, well, we're all working in unison against this person. This person is a problem. And this is what the dynamic duo have done. What they've done is they've thought, well, I'll tell you what, if we're going to try to if we're going to successfully excommunicate the Shias from Islam, what better way to do it than present them as a non-Muslim in the eyes of other sects too, because we're all buddies and we all love each other, and it's these Shias which are a problem. So the dynamic duo have done just that. They did it in one of their videos. Sayyid Ali, do you want to should I explain the background of the video you're about to present, or do you want to do it?
I think it's important you mention it, because I think they, you know, Tariq Jamil is not a small person. Absolutely.
I think you're right. I mean, there is a very prominent individual from the Deobandi sect in Pakistan, highly revered, very well respected, really amongst the Tablighi Jamaat in Pakistan. Very moderate. Certainly, his moderation has earned plaudits across the Indian subcontinent from Shias and Sunnis alike, because he's very much pro-unity. He takes a very inclusive approach. Very much, for example, he's given speeches in praise of Ahlul Bayt ﷺ on topics such as respecting Sayyids, stuff that in all honesty, there's been an assumption that Deobandis don't hold those opinions. He's essentially almost taken a step back and said, actually, we do. He's even been reciting speeches about Imam Hussein ﷺ and his shahadat. Now, as part of that, it's almost like a rapprochement. He's done a hell of a lot of work to try to gather Sunni and Shia opinion together to try and understand that, you know, the two sects can work collaboratively, and, you know, we can share views, and we can share platforms. Of course, we do have those extremist types of opinions, those which hold them, which the dynamic duo clearly do hold, that find that absolutely unpalatable, because essentially these are the same people. These guys, they're very much affiliated with the very sects which, you know, with the groups associated with Deobandism, which is the Takfiri aspect of Deobandism. So we've got their scholars such as Azam Tariq. They know who they are, who I'm talking about. Faruqi and other scholars, Jangvi, these sort of individuals are obviously guys which have inspired a dynamic duo, I'm sure, because if you look at their copy and paste jobs, they're more or less textbooks out of their nonsense. So essentially, they found that unacceptable, and hence why they actually made a video condoning Tariq Jamil's efforts at rapprochement and in becoming closer with the Shia community. So, Sayyid Ali, can you please expand on that?
Sure, I'll play the clip now for the viewers to have a look at.
So with me here, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Muhammad Faruqi, rahmatullah alayhi. So in which he gathered the fatwa of ulama of Deoband, ulama of the Barelvi Muslim, ulama of Al-Hadith throughout the world. So alhamdulillah, because Maulana Tariq Jamil Sahib has mentioned that his aqidah and his stance regarding Shia is, and in everything actually, is the Aqidah of the ulama of Deoband, and their writings, obviously, when they are unanimous upon something, then we will go by that, and we will say Maulana Tariq Jameel Sahib's stance in this issue is this. So move on. Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, rahmatullahi alayh, one of the stalwarts, one of the pillars, one of the giant ulama of the Akabir Mashayikh ulama of Deoband. He writes in Hidayat al-Shia, page 14. He says, Shia बेअदब हर चंद कलिमा तौहीद जुबान से कहे लेकिन मुसलमान नहीं हो सकता. In other words, a Shi'i, no matter how much he says the kalima of tawheed, la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he cannot be a believer. अगर एक आयत कुरान शरीफ का कोई कलमा हो मुनकिर और मुकज़्ज़िब हो तो काफिर होता है. कलमा पढ़ने और किबला की तरफ मुंह करने से मोमिन नहीं होता. In other words, just by reading kalima and facing the qibla, a person who denies even one verse of the Holy Quran, he can't be a believer just by reading the kalima and facing the qibla. Then he says, Aziyate mahbub Rasul Khuda sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Aziyate Rasulullah. In other words, harming and slandering the Mahbuba Rasul Khuda, in other words, the beloved wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is actually harming Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or Muzi Rasul ka kafir hai. In other words, one who harms Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is a kafir. ऐसे शरीरों की तकफीर और तफसीक हर मुसलमान पर वाजिब है. Such mischievous people like the Shia, calling them kafir is not, he's not just saying they are kafir, he's saying it is wajib upon every Muslim to call them kafir. Let's move on to his great student, the Ustad, the Sheikh of 𝗙𝗢𝗧𝗜𝗙𝗦𝗢𝗏, Sheikh al-Hadith, Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Zakaria Kandhelwi rahmatullahi alayhi.
Did you want me to carry on playing it, or do you guys get the gist of the whole thing? What do you reckon?
That's fine, Sayyid Ali. I think that's good enough. I think that gives us the gist that essentially they've
accused Tariq Jameel of taqiyya, basically, right?
Absolutely, exactly.
They said that what his opinion is the opinion of the ulama of Deoband, and since the ulama of Deoband are unanimous, right, by default, by consensus, that all of them believe that Shias are not Muslims. Therefore, that must mean that Tariq Jameel must also believe that Shias are not Muslims, but rather when he says they are Muslims, he's doing taqiyya.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. He's actually, but obviously for them, it's because taqiyya is not unacceptable. He's just blatantly lying. That's what they're trying to present him as. Yeah, don't forget, taqiyya is unpalatable for the dynamic duo, so he's actually lying.
By the way, there is actually a clip of Tariq Jameel where he's asked a question about cursing the Sahaba, and he was asked, is it something which takes you out of the fold of Islam? And this clip's available online. If you go on YouTube, you type in Tariq Jameel cursing Sahaba, you'll see his clips in Urdu. You can ask any Urdu speaking person to translate it for you. And he says, no, it's not. He goes like, look, I've studied all the books of fiqh and so on and etc. And it's not problematic. So according to these guys, even that clip, potentially, Tariq Jameel is lying. He's deceiving. And as you can see, according to them, deception is part and parcel of the belief. They lie to mislead the public when they say one thing, but they mean something else. So in reality, these are the guys who actually do taqiyya with people. Sayyid Zadi, do you want to add anything before we go into the topic?
No, let's go to the topic. Go ahead.
Give me a minute and I'm going to bring it up for you, inshallah. Sayyid Hassan, did you want to deal with this? Sayyid Hassan?
Sorry about that. Yeah. Do you want to do the reference, or should I?
No, I think I'll let you deal with this one. I think me and have been talking about. We'll let you take over.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. You have. So essentially, but were we not going to play the other clip, or should we? Because we've got essentially two clips of the waffle, haven't we?
Yeah, there is, but in the other one we're going to deal with it in the next week's show. It's more to do with because you have to see what he's done is he's trying to make this united body.
Yeah, you're right. The United Anti-Ravzi Front, essentially, isn't it?
Basically, what he's presented is a book, and in that book, it's got fatwas of Wahhabi ulama, Salafi ulama, Barelvi ulama, and obviously Deobandi ulama, who say that all of these guys are unanimous that Shias are not Muslim. Yeah, the irony is that they don't consider each other to be Muslim. We're going to go into that in a later show. But, you know, and as you've seen recently, you know, with this whole thing escalating in the UK, where, you know, two particular individuals have called each other out for like a discussion and dialogue, trying to prove, you know, which one of them are, you know, blasphemers on the Holy Prophet and peace and blessings be upon him. So yeah, so you know, we're going to deal with that next week's show, I think, with that video clip.
Okay, thank you, Sayyid. What I'll do is, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially, because the issue was that Tariq Jamil was apparently using taqiyya, and the position of the ulama of Deobandi that Shia are infidels. Let's just have a little bit of a look at what that position is. This correct, or is there more to it? So let's start with some texts from one of their, what we would say, one of their great founding forefathers, Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi Saab. Sayyid Ali, you're going to be providing the scan as well? Yeah? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you go ahead, Sayyid.
Okay, fine. So, Allama Ashraf Ali Thanvi Saab, Imdad al-Fatwa, Volume 2, page 235, and this is from 𝗙𝗢𝗧𝗦𝗧𝗜𝗢𝗙, and this is published by Maktab Darul Uloom, Karachi. So, if a Rafzi has beliefs of infidelity, kufr, like believing in the deletion or addition in the Quran, believing that Hazrat Aisha committed adultery, claiming the divinity of Hazrat Ali, believing that angel Jibreel committed mistake by bringing revelation to the Prophet, although it should have been given to Ali, then only he is a kafir, and his marriage with a Sunni woman is wrong. But as far as 𝗙𝗢𝗧𝗑𝗧𝗑 is concerned, and let's put in, you know, an individual who speaks ill about the Sahaba, then there's a difference of opinion whether he's a kafir or not. And Allama Shami has preferred not to pronounce takfir on such a person. See his book, volume 3, page 453. But as far as him being an innovator, then there is no doubt, but he will not be a kafir. So remember this point. Cursing the Sahaba, according to Ashraf Ali Thanvi. And remember, these guys, the dynamic duo, are particularly fond of attacking Shias for our stance on the companions. One of your lead gurus on this topic area of your sect said that cursing the Sahaba does not, you know, he's used the opinion of Allama Shami. It might make you an innovator, but it doesn't make you an apostate. Now,
Sayyid, one thing that I want to mention is that here we don't want certification from scholars to give us that we are Muslims or not. Because if we are to quote scholars from all the way from the scholars of Salaf all the way till now, we'll have a huge list of people calling Shias Muslims. So we don't want certification from scholars to prove ourselves that we are Muslim or not. The reason that we are bringing this topic is to denounce the takfirism that's present in the Deobandi community and Shia Muslims. And I think from Shia Muslim, it has gone all the way to Barelvi Muslims too, right? So Barelvi Muslims are being called Gustakh, right? Ahmad Raza as Gustakh, Muhammad Naeem Muradabadi as Gustakh, and all their Nizamuddin Multani as Gustakh, and Umar Acharawi as Gustakh. So all the Barelvi, I shouldn't say all Barelvis, I should say Barelvi scholarship is being termed as Gustakh, just to be more precise. So these, we know what kind of Gustakh fatwa that people are giving against each other. So it really doesn't bother us, to be honest. But we just want, there isn't any ijma within the Deobandi community and Deobandi scholarship, whether Shias are kafir or whether Shias are kafir. Rather, there have been difference of opinion, and a lot of their scholars have turned as Muslim, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this show is to prove their lie, is to expose their lie. That Deobandis have an ijma on calling Shia kafir. And one more thing I should point out here. Maulana Tariq Jamil, when he made this clip, even after this clip, he's meeting Shia scholars and he's greeting them and he's welcoming them and having them to sit beside him, especially after the famous Tablighi preacher died. There was a Shia scholar that went and meet Maulana Tariq Jamil, and you could see the smile and you could see the greetings that Tariq Jamil was giving to him. So, do you think that a person who is a kafir, who is not a normal kafir, he's a zindiq, because a kafir who claims himself as a kafir is not called zindiq, but someone who is a kafir and claims himself as a Muslim is called zindiq, and the punishment for zindiq is severe than a punishment for a normal kafir. Everyone knows that. So,
Absolutely.
Do you think Maulana Tariq Jamil was smiling on a zindiq's face, was greeting him, was welcoming him? Um, and I'm really really sure Maulana Tariq Jamil. It's just for the record. Maulana Tariq Jamil doesn't believe in takfir of Shia Muslims. That's so obvious. Anyone goes through his clip. I'm not defending him. I'm not his fan, and I have a lot of differences of opinion with him. But the truth has to be told. So Muslims should know that there are a bunch of Deobandi scholars that that were pronounced takfir, and they would show it as a consensus opinion, but there is a large majority that usually don't speak, but they consider Shias as Muslims, right?
Absolutely.
So let's go.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead with it.
And that's the important thing. That's what we're trying to prove here. Before they say, oh, we just handpicked a couple of ulama and blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is, yes, you might have scholars which have called Shias apostates. And naturally, those are the scholars that you affiliate yourselves with, because we know which particular Takfiri Deobandi agenda that you're following and which groups that you're affiliated with. We know where you get your inspiration, but that isn't the be all and the end all. And that's what we're seeking to prove today. You cannot prove there's an absolute consensus amongst the Deobandis that the Shias are infidels. Now, moving on, Maulana Taqi Usmani. Now, he's a very famous scholar, the son of Shaykh-ul-Islam of the Deobandi Shabir Usmani. This is what he's written in Fatwa Ismania, volume 2, pages 261 to 262. Again, it's on the issue of Kitab al-Nikah. So there are many subsects within Shias, and they all claim themselves to be Shia and Twelvers. The Ahl Sunnah will call all of them to be rejectors, and these are all subsects, are not kafir as a whole. However, amongst them, those that claim the divinity of Hazrat Ali, belief in the alteration of the Quran, associate adultery with Aisha, or some of other believers like these that are tantamount to kufr are kafir, and marriage shouldn't be performed with them. But people that don't believe in these beliefs are not kafir, and nikah can be done with them, although it is not recommended. So remember, again, he's a very clear acknowledgement. As long as you don't profess the above beliefs, the list that they provided, you might be a deviant, you might be an innovator, but you are not an infidel. So a Shia who doesn't ascribe to the above beliefs is not an infidel. So this is an important point. I know that I'm looking at the clock, and I know we're quite tight on time, so I'll quote the next reference. Maulana Lal Hussain Akhtar Saab from 𝗙𝗢𝗧𝗜𝗙𝗓 volume.
Say it. It's احتساب قاديانية.
Apologies, 𝗙𝗢𝗧𝗜𝗙𝗓𝗦. Sorry. Volume 1.
Just for our viewers, احتساب قاديانية is a collection of booklets from different scholars that have written books against and have written booklets against Qadianis. So essentially, عالمي مجلس تحفظ ختم النبوة, which is an organization in Pakistan. Their goal is to work for Khatm al-Nubuwah. Their goal is to publish all those booklets and all those books that have been written in the past against Qadianis. And there are some of the books that they have published even of Shia scholars writing book against Qadianis, right? And sometimes even praising Shia scholars for doing it. The reason I didn't mention all of these things is obviously we were running short of time. but there are like over 50 volumes of the books that have been published from 𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗡 Qadianiyat. Some of them contain Shia texts too against Qadianis. So the people that are equating Shias and Qadianis together should know that Almi Majlis Tahfiz Khatm, which is a Deobandi organization, have published Shia booklets firstly and have praised Shia scholars secondly. So go ahead, Sayyid.
Okay, so Lala Akhtar Saab said, in order to resist apostasy, Jamiat Ulama Hind, Khilafat Committee, the School of Deoband, Hanfi, Al-Hadith, and Shia scholars, Shia, all Muslims assembled. So I'll repeat that again, sorry, in order to resist apostasy. So, to go against the Qadianis, basically. Jamiat Ulama Al-Hind, the Khilafat Committee, School of Deoband, Hanfi, Al-Hadith, and Shia, all Muslims assembled. Essentially, all of these groups, according to Lal Hussain Akhtar Saab, are Muslims. And they all assembled to deal with the Qadianis. So then we have Mufti Kifayatullah Deobandi Saab. This is from his book Kifayatul Mufti, Volume 1, page 294. Shias are one amongst the Islamic sects. Although the sect containing salvation is Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and the remainder are not going to be amongst the saved one. As per the Al-Sunnah, there are many sects within the Shia that are outside the pale of Islam, or they are still counted amongst the sects of Shias. Nevertheless, as per the claim that they are considered amongst the Islamic sect, their ruling is similar to the ruling amongst the people of the book, that in spite of their kufriya aqaid, the likes of claiming the divinity for Jesus as begotten Son of Allah, they are different to others who are not people of the book, i.e. infidels. So this is from Kifayat al-Mufti, Volume 1, page 294. Then, and also in the same book, Volume 1, page 299, if someone amongst the Rawafid dies and there are people amongst them to take care of funeral duties, then they should take care of them. But if there aren't anyone amongst them present, then it is incumbent upon Muslims to look after their funeral and burial. So again, if the Shia are infidels, how can a Muslim deal with his funeral rites if no Shia is available? A point to ponder. So essentially, those are just an example of the fatwas that the ulama of Deoband have said, which have ruled that the Shias are not infidels. They may be deviant in their view, which isn't an odd thing. I'm sure all Muslims, obviously, all sects view themselves as the successful sect, the safe sect. So it's natural they'll view as anybody else which doesn't agree with them as deviant. We don't have an issue with that. But the important thing is they've not deemed them apostates.
And also,
yeah.
I'll say this then a quick point as well. There was some important references which you read there, and one of them being was the fact that about the funeral rites, okay, about a Shia or Rafidi, he still has funeral rites, and according to them, some of their elders actually read the funeral prayer of a Shia who was a Rafidi, and I can't recall the book now, but I believe it might have been either 𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗡𝗦 or 𝗦𝗨𝗥𝗡𝗧𝗜𝗢𝗎, one of the two. And there was...
It's 𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗎, Sayyid.
𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗎. It was
𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗢.
The tale of the whole incident is that apparently there were these two Shias or these two Rafidis, not Shias, Rafidis, who were pretending amongst themselves that, look, when he comes to lead the funeral prayers, they would get up. Okay, they would get up and maybe scare him or whatever. It's kind of similar to an account which is normally attributed to Imam Ali alayhi salam, where there was an individual who was pretending that he was dead, but he wasn't. So these two Rafidis, or this particular Rafidi, who, by the way, he must have been given the funeral rites as well, yeah, by the Deobandi community of that time, whoever, who arranged his washing his body, etc., preparing his body. And by the time it's strange as well, because during that whole time he was alive, which is weird, the whole thing. But yeah, nevertheless, he read the funeral prayer of a Rafidi, and the Rafidi remained dead apparently after he read the funeral prayers, because they believe that their saints perform these miracles and stuff. So it was not unusual for this Rafidi to die. But yeah, you don't read the funeral prayers of somebody who's not Muslim. So as you can see, there's no real consensus amongst them Shias are not considered to be.
Sayyid, I'll be honest to you, right? Inshallah, we'll talk about it further. The Deoband have four major scholars, right? Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, Qasim Nanotwi, 𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗓𝗦𝗓𝗦𝗓, and Khalil Ahmad Saharanpuri. So we have already quoted Ashraf Thanwi's fatwa, and we'll be quoting Rashid Ahmad Gangohi's fatwa. And the third scholar is Qasim Nanotwi, as you mentioned. And these are the three big guns, right? Khalil Ahmad Saharanpuri, it's not really sure. I haven't read his books properly, so I cannot make a judgment out of it. But 3 out of the 4 scholars have termed Shias as Muslims, right? If 3 out of 4 means 75% of their scholarship, big scholarship, and the fourth one hasn't said it Shias to be kafir either. It's just that there isn't anything quoted from him. So if such a big figure term Shias as Muslims, so who are these children that are speaking against Shias, right? As if they are kafir, right? That's an important distinction to make, right? So the scholars that we are quoting are huge figures. And 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗓𝗦𝗓, I just wanted to give an introduction for him too. So he was a Lahori, he was from Ahmadi sect, who converted to Islam, and then he became a munadhir, or a person, a debater against Qadianis, right? Against Mirzai. So he's always considered with respect, and that's why his books are published in first volume of 𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗡𝗦, even though there are more than 50 volumes that have been published. It just shows the stature and level of scholars that we are quoting right now, and versus them. We're not playing scholars versus scholars, but obviously we just proving a point that big scholars within the Deoband school of thought have considered Shias as Muslims. Go ahead.
And the unfortunate thing is that these people have actually they're misleading the masses. They're misleading this small sheep-like community who, wherever Mufti Saab says, we know that they had this opinion about their scholars before, that wherever they would come out their mouth would be the truth. So in this day and age, it's kind of a similar sort of, you see history repeat itself, that when they see the religious figures chanting these slogans out, oh, the Shias are not Muslims because of, there's a so-called unanimous agreement, which is a complete and utter lie. And then they have to try to justify the statements of the, revered personalities like Tariq Jamil by saying, oh, no, what he meant was something else. And this is how we're going to justify it. You have these, these people who, run the streets who, shout out similar slogans. Oh, well, we don't consider Shia to be Muslim. Well, wait, is that the really, if you want to really take that line of approach, then, if you want to start doing takfir of how other people don't even consider you people to be Muslim, nobody will remain left a Muslim. If Muslims were starting to do takfir on each other, who would be left to be a Muslim? You understand? So, we're not going to talk about what takes somebody out of the fold of Islam today. That's a whole separate topic. But, at least on the fundamentals of Islam, on Tawheed and Risala, at face value, we can all agree that anybody who believes in Tawheed and Risala of, the Prophet may being the last and final messenger, they'll be regarded as a Muslim. Of course, we can go into technicalities whether Deobandis actually believe in Khatam al-Nubuwwat and all this stuff. That's a whole separate issue. Yeah. And I recommend our viewers to go back and have a look at our previous shows, which we're still waiting a response on. But again, that's a separate debate. But the point is, at face value, every individual, as long as they believe in the testimony of faith, they have to be considered as Muslims. And your scholars, they had no issues in accepting Shias to be Muslims. On certain issues, they said if they don't fulfill these certain things or they have these beliefs, then they won't be considered Muslim. And we respect that. That's fine. Not an issue. So I'm going to finish off the show on just on a final note about the issue about cursing Sahaba, which previously came up on one of the books which Sayyid Hassan Bahari read. And this is whether it's is it an act of disbelief to curse the Sahaba? Of course, anybody who outright rejects all the Sahaba collectively, they wouldn't be considered to be a Muslim. That's clear violation of the Holy Quran. Okay. But however, is the act of cursing a Sahaba, is it an act of kufr or is it an act of fisk? Is it an act of transgression? You understand? This is what we need to look at. And let's have a look at what the scholars of Deobandis have said And more importantly, what the Hanafi scholars of Deobandi said as well. So this is a famous scholar, Allama Abdul Ali Muhammad, and he says in his fatwa 𝗦𝗨𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗦𝗖𝗥𝗓𝗡, I believe, and he mentions in volume number 2, page number 294, according to the Hanafis, the Rafida are not kafir. So here, he's not even talking about the average Shia, he's talking about the Rafida. He says, according to the Hanafis, the Rafida are not kafir. And there's a reference there for the viewers to go back and always confirm. Ibn Abdin, he mentions in his book, 𝗙𝗢𝗪𝗓𝗙, volume 4, page 135, and he says, if he prefers Ali, meaning if he prefers Ali over the others, meaning Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, or curses the Sahaba, he's an innovator, okay, but not a kafir. And as you know, Ibn Abdin is considered to be a major jurist within Hanafi school, and his books are still, used today. Fatwas are taken out from this book. And there's a reference for you to have a look at. Again, 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗕𝗦𝗖𝗥𝗓𝗍, famous 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗕𝗕𝗦𝗖𝗥𝗓𝗍, in his book Shara Fiqh Akbar, which I believe is also available in English, page number 211. And he says, then again, from the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa, the Qibla, even if he's Bid'ah, doesn't become a kafir due to his sins. It proves that no one becomes a kafir merely by abusing Abu Bakr and Umar. To abuse Abu Bakr and Umar is not kufr, as Abu Shakur as-Salami has correctly proved in his book At-Tahmid, and it's because of the base of this claim that the reviving the Shaykhain is kufr is not proven, nor its meaning is confirmed, as cursing a Muslim is fisk, as proven in Sahih Muslim, that says cursing a Muslim is fisk and killing him is a kufr. Therefore, both Abu Bakr and Umar and other Muslims are on par in light of this hadith. So what he says is there's a hadith in the authority of the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, that says that if you curse a Muslim, it's fisk, and obviously if you kill a Muslim, it's an act of disbelief. Therefore, if somebody considers Abu Bakr and Umar or any of the Sahaba to be Muslims by merely cursing them, it's an act of fisk and is not one of disbelief. That's from Shara Fiqh Akbar, page number 211. Once again, I'll stop it there so the viewers can always go back and confirm it. Coming back to the Deobandi ulama, Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, anyone who pronounces takfir on the Sahaba is a maloon, he's wretched, and to make him an imam is haram, but he will not go out of the pale of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah due to his greater sin. Quite interesting. So this is just a general one. This is not even, you could say it's not even applicable just to Shias, because let's just say, hypothetically speaking, after today's shows, or a Deobandi brother or sister was to go back to some of our Adala series and was to look at some of the crimes committed by Muawiyah, and for whatever reason decides to curse Muawiyah, according to Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, such an individual is only a maloon. He's wretched. And it's forbidden to obviously make such a person the leader. However, they will not go out of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So you can still remain within the fold of Sunniism and still have past takfir on Sahaba. And by the way, it's not my fatwa. This is the fatwa of Rashid Ahmad Gangohi in his Fatwa Rashidiyya on page 274. And there's a scan for the viewers to go back, confirm. And as I said, nothing's been taken out of context here. And if it has, then by all means, come back and reply to them. We're still waiting for a response. I think there was 2 responses given so far, which we're going to deal with at some point. But by all means, be our guest and reply back to them. Rashid Ahmad Gangohi again, he says, whoever disrespects a companion is a fasik, is a transgressor. So whoever disrespects a companion. So let's just say somebody makes a comment about the looks of a certain companion, that, oh, this companion was so ugly that, when people used to look at him, that, the women used to miscarry, as an example. that would be considered a form of disrespect. So there's no cursing involved, there's no slandering, etc. Whoever disrespects a companion, such an individual is a fasiq only. Not a kafir, not a murtad, no nothing. Just a transgressor. That's from Fatwa Rashidiyah, page number 250. And I believe that is the end of today's show.
Thank you, Sayyid. Thank you very much. You're right. I mean, that does give us a conclusion, which is a most apt one indeed. Really, the purpose of today's show was the desire of the dynamic duo to essentially present the Shia community as infidels, because my mate says so, isn't it, Gov? It isn't the case. It certainly isn't the case. All because you've got some of your ulama that you are affiliated with do opine that position. It is not unanimous, far from it. And in any case, your fatwas mean nothing for us, because we'll, inshallah ta'ala, look in the next show to see how the almost unified persona that you try to present against the Shia, that, you know, there's the three major groups, for example, in the Indian subcontinent, you know, that you presenting us as this Muslims against the Rawafid. There's far more. And, you know, if we look at this marriage of convenience, just like Brother Mushtaq Shah said, just like the brother said, you know, I was chatting to one of our brothers on this topic. These marriages of conveniences don't really work out. There's far more to it. I think that's about it. Yeah, I think we are there. Inshallah ta'ala, we will continue discussion for next week. We will do with the fitna of Takfir, inshallah. Anything further to say, Sayyid?
No, that's brilliant. We apologize if this show did slightly drag on longer than usual, but as you need to understand, there's a lot to cover, and these are big topics, and it requires a lot of time. Therefore, sometimes certain responses you do need to give a bit of time to explain to the audience what's going on.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that concludes things for today. Jazakallah for tuning in. Keep us in your du'as. Inshallah, we shall see you next week. Assalamu alaikum.